Did you know that flood insurance costs can be up to 30% more on mobile homes compared to traditional homes? But these costs could hit you harder than a rising flood. Why is that? Well, in this video here today, we're going to show you why these premiums are so much higher and what you can do as a mobile home or manufactured home owner control these costs. So let's get started. But before we do, remember, share, subscribe, like the channel. Hi, I'm Chris, the flood insurance guru. More than 12 years ago, I bought a house in a flood zone just like this right here. And I was told my flood insurance premiums were going to be $3,000 a year when they should have been $300. You know, as a mobile home and a manufactured home owner, when you're looking for affordability, you can imagine this could absolutely destroy what you're trying to do here. And it almost did to me too. Now, thankfully, I was able to get that much lower premium, and I was even able to change that flood zone. And that's why I've been helping mobile homeowners and manufactured homeowners like yourself for the last 10 years overcome this challenge of flood insurance costs on mobile homes. Mobile home and manufactured homes can create affordable living, at least traditionally they could. However, they also come with unique flooding risks like you can see right here behind me. So today, let's talk about some of those challenges when it comes to those flooding risk and flood insurance premiums for mobile home and manufactured homes. Mobile homes and manufactured homes have a higher susceptibility to flooding. Why is that? Well, imagine a traditional home that's built on a crawl space or a basement or just a slab. You know, they get that pretty secure foundation. Now let's look at a mobile home, a manufactured home that might just be on tie downs. You see, it doesn't take much flood water to wash it away. In fact, we had this happen to a client in Arizona where flood water did not even enter their mobile manufactured home. It just went under and it destroyed everything. It destroyed their heating and air units, their plumbing, their wiring, all these things. Because it really just, you know, when you have these covers on these mobile homes around that crawl space area, there's just not much there to protect it. And this is one reason why mobile homes and manufactured homes have a higher susceptibility to flooding. Also, when they do get flooded, it's not uncommon for them to completely get destroyed or washed away, which makes getting flood insurance more challenging because insurance companies know that these are more than likely going to be a total loss. The location of mobile homes and manufactured homes also plays an important role. You see, many times people will place mobile homes or manufactured homes into areas where you may not put a traditional house because they're flood-prone areas. And insurance companies see this. The National Flood Insurance Program, private flood insurance companies are all looking at things like distance to water, maybe the elevation of that mobile home or manufactured home, which can create extremely high costs for these mobile homes and the manufactured homes in these flood-prone areas. Now remember though, as we shoot this video in 2024, the National Flood Insurance Program, but even most private flood insurance companies are not using flood zones really to determine most insurance rates anymore. They're using things like distance to water, you know, the type of flooding. If we're talking about river flooding, lake flooding, are we talking about coastal flooding? Are we talking about flash flooding? You know, all these different things. The replacement costs. Are we talking about the replacement cost on a mobile home of $125,000? Or are we talking about the replacement cost of $40,000? These things can have big impacts on the rate. Also, the history of flooding in an area. Maybe you're in a 20-year flood area, which has a much higher chance of flooding than a 100-year flood area. These are all things that are impacting it when these mobile homes, these manufactured homes are placed in these higher risk areas. These factors that we've just discussed can have a big impact on flood insurance costs, and understanding these factors is your first step in protecting yourself. Now, the next step is knowing what are your flood insurance options to control these costs on mobile homes. You know, we briefly talked about the National Flood Insurance Program. This is the federal government program. Remember, no matter where you go, the rates should be the same on these mobile homes. The only time they're going to be different is if you're selecting different coverages. So if you're going to an agency down the street or an agency 200 miles away, the rates should be the same here. However, on private flood insurance, this is really where we need to talk about mobile home and manufactured homes. You see, compared to a traditional home, you may have 20 or 30 different private flood insurance options. If you're lucky, on mobile manufactured homes, you might have a couple of options. Traditionally, you've got about one private option out there. Now, looking at these different options with the National Flood Insurance Program and private, you want to look at what are you actually getting? Are you getting replacement costs on your structure? Are you getting replacement costs on your building? You know, what are the deductibles? Is picking a higher deductible really going to benefit you here? Well, this is what we really need to talk about. You see, because this is a big myth when it comes to flood insurance, unlike maybe home insurance or just traditional mobile home insurance, is, hey, if I increase my deductible, it's going to save me. Traditionally, we see people go from a $5,000 to a $10,000 deductible, and it saves them less than $100 a year. So you want to be cautious here, because paying that big deductible, you may not have that at the time. And you want to think about that when you're looking at these costs for these mobile homes and these manufactured homes and understanding your different options. Now, what about adding flood insurance to your mobile home insurance coverage. Is that an option to control cost? It could be, depending on where you're at. Now, there's a lot of different companies out there that are adding now what's called endorsements or flood endorsements, where they may add flood coverage onto your mobile home at a much more affordable rate. We see people get this every day. You just want to make sure that your bank's going to accept it and you're getting the same coverage as you would through a national flood insurance program policy and private. Now, what coverages are available, though, through the National Flood Insurance Program and even private flood insurance on mobile homes and manufactured homes? Look, just like a traditional home, you get up to $250,000 on the building and $100,000 in contents. On private, you may be able to get more than that, but traditionally on these mobile homes, they're going to have some limitations here. So it's important to understand that. Now, remember, private also is going to offer you additional living expenses on a mobile home. So whether it's a rental property that you have, maybe a house on the lake here, or just your traditional primary home that's a mobile home or manufactured home, additional living expenses could play a huge role. And I'll tell you a quick story we had about a customer in Nebraska who had a private flood insurance policy. And when her house flooded, she was the only one on her street that had a private policy that had additional living expenses. And she had a hotel paid for up to 6 months, something her neighbors did not have. This took a lot of financial pressure off of her. She was going through this claims process and not having to worry about the expense of where am I going to live for 6 months? How am I going to pay for that cost? These are things that really can pile up very quickly. So now those are the flood insurance options. Those are the flood insurance coverages on mobile homes and manufactured homes. Now let's talk about wait periods a little bit when you're trying to get flood insurance on your mobile home or your manufactured home. Remember, generally, if you have a loan closing transaction, this means that you're taking a loan out on that mobile home to purchase it. Not an existing mortgage, but a new mortgage. You shouldn't have a wait period, whether it's a national flood insurance program or private flood insurance. Let's say you own a mobile home and you have just been placed in what's called a special flood hazard area. You just got a letter from your bank say, hey, you're going from a low risk to a high risk, which means we're now going to require flood insurance. With the national flood insurance program, you're typically going to have a one-day wait period, but when setting it up with your agent, you want to make sure that they've got you down as newly mapped so that you only have a one-day wait period. Now, unfortunately, most private companies don't offer a newly mapped option here, so they may still have their standard wait period of 7 days, 10 days, 15 days. Now let's talk about your standard wait period with the National Flood Insurance Program. Whether it's a mobile home, a traditional home, single wide, double wide, you're usually going to have about a 30-day wait period with the federal government if you're not taking out a loan. With most private companies, that wait period is going to range from 7 to 15 days. So if you live in Florida and you're just trying to get flood insurance for hurricane seasons, you want to think about that ahead of time on these different wait periods for mobile home and manufactured homes. Or if you're in Savannah, Georgia, Statesboro, Georgia, there's some of these rural areas where you may own a mobile home or manufactured home. Just keep thinking about those wait periods. Now let's talk about elevation certificates when it comes to mobile homes and manufactured homes. And you can click up here in the corner of this video too to learn more on our elevation certificate video about understanding an elevation certificate. But what an elevation certificate is, it shows the different elevations of your mobile home, your manufactured home. This potentially could qualify you for a flood zone change. So if you've just been recently placed into a high-risk area, getting an elevation certificate may be able to get you removed from a flood zone. But I removed my own property from a flood zone more than 10 years ago, so it's definitely an option. I've been helping thousands of business owners and homeowners do this for the last 10 years. An elevation certificate could also show different elevations of your property. Maybe you're really far below the FEMA flood level, called the base flood elevation. Or maybe you're really far above it. This could have a potential impact on your premiums because of how they use elevation here. Are elevation certificates required? Generally, they're no longer required with the National Flood Insurance Program, but sometimes private companies will require them depending on when the year of the house was being built. So if you have a mobile home that was built in 2015, they might require an elevation certificate with a private company. But if it was built before 1980, they may not. So you just want to think about that. So today we've talked about the hidden cost of flood insurance on mobile home and manufactured homes, what you can do about it, understanding, exposure, your flood insurance options and coverages, even cost, flood insurance pricing. Let's talk a little bit more about pricing though, and that is, what is the average premium we see on mobile homes and manufactured homes across the country? The average premium that we see on these mobile homes, we're talking about coverages up to $250,000, traditionally has been about $2,000 a year. However, the good news is in the private market right now, we're starting to see that number dip down below $1,000 a year, which is a good thing when it's available. So if you're purchasing a mobile home, you really want to take a look at pricing and affordability on flood insurance, because it could make it that maybe this mobile home or manufactured home is no longer affordable for you because of flood insurance. You want to think about that before you buy it. You want to look at the long-term implications here. So if you're ready to take the next steps to getting a deeper understanding of flood insurance, You can, in the description of this video, download our guide on flood insurance for mobile home and manufactured homes. You can also find your flood risk by just simply clicking on the link below. And if you're ready to get a quote on a mobile home and manufactured homes, it's 3 simple steps. Step 1, fill out the form on our website. Step 2, review the different flood insurance options we sent to you. And step 3, finalize your policy. That's it. I'm Chris, the Flood Insurance Guru, and I want to say thank you for watching today's video on the hidden cost of flood insurance on mobile home and manufactured homes. Now make sure to share, subscribe, and like the channel so others can find the same valuable content. Remember, everybody's in a flood zone. It's just a matter how quick it takes water to get to you. Thank you.